Hello. How are you guys doing tonight? Okay, I have no idea how long this vlog is going to be, you guys, because I'm just now getting out because of the roads. So, oh, I guess the light needs to be turned on. So I don't know. I mean, the roads are pretty good right now. Like, they just came through and cleared them. But it is freezing cold outside. How cold? It's 13 degrees. And we got like 5 or 6 inches of snow. And so I've been inside pretty much the entire day. And I was like, Alex went to bed super early. And I was like, I've got to get up and like get out of the house and go do something. I was out a little bit earlier today, but it was kind of like when the snow was just starting. It was really weird because we were supposed to get like the ice was supposed to start at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which it kind of did, but just really, really slowly. And then Alex had some meetings and stuff that he had to go to, and he said that when he left to go to the meetings, like, it wasn't bad outside at all. And then he came home, he got home about 2 o'clock, and it's still like we hadn't gotten any snow or anything, and it was pretty okay outside. And then early afternoon, it started getting like, it started flurrying a little bit, and all of the snow was supposed to stop by 9 p.m. And I was like, this is really weird. I thought it was supposed to be 9 p.m. tomorrow, but I guess it was 9 p.m. tonight. And I was like, this is really weird that we're just now getting snow at like 5 or 6. And I mean to tell you, like, in 2 hours, it dropped like 5 inches of snow, 5 or 6 inches of snow outside. And it's really pretty, but and the roads really aren't that bad. Like, there's a lot of snow in the roads, but they're like, see, there's like a snow truck right there driving by me. And the plows are everywhere, and well, I'm on like a major road right now, so I don't know, but it's they're pretty okay to drive on right now. And it is 1:54 a.m. So yeah, so he came home, we did that, we hung out, and then we had our leftovers. We watched RuPaul's Drag Race tonight, and then we watched a little bit of something else, and then he was gonna watch a movie. I can't remember what movie he was gonna watch, Predator or something, and he said he couldn't hear it on the TV for some reason. So he ended up watching Monster-in-Law. Is that the one with Jane Fonda and yeah, Jennifer Lopez? And I was like, I'm gonna lay down for a little bit. And so I laid down. I laid down about 9:30. It was really early. I was so tired, and he came upstairs at about like 11, I think, and was like, I'm going to bed. I go, you're going to bed right now? He goes, yeah, I'm tired. I was like, okay. And then tomorrow we are going over to Melissa's to have, we were kind of undecided whether or not we wanted to go to brunch or whether we wanted to go over to Melissa's, because we didn't want to do both because it's a lot of eating. To Melissa's, because she is making a chicken chili, and they're gonna watch the football game. And so she was like, if you guys want to come over, you can come over. And she's like, I'll make Peter grilled cheeses and stuff. I talked about that on here last night. But so when Alex was going to sleep, he was like, are we going to brunch tomorrow? I was like, well, I thought we had said that we were gonna go over to Melissa's. And he was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. Anyway, so yeah, that was our night. It was super lame and not real exciting. My lips have been really, really chapped the last couple days, you know, and I have not been doing like my nighttime ritual for like the last week. I think it's been about the last week. Well, the last couple days. And I've really noticed a difference, like, that I haven't been doing it. Especially on my lips, using that Laneige lip mask. And my lip split earlier today, and it like really, really hurts. So yeah, that was about my day. I got up today and I wanted to, well, okay, so I didn't plug in my battery last night when I came home. I like got distracted when I came in because, so what I do when I come home is like I put my memory card in the computer and then I start uploading the vlog, and I did that, and the camera was sitting right there, and then I took the dogs outside as soon as like they came running downstairs last night after I'd done the memory card. So I took the dogs out and never plugged the camera in. So today, after I like had gone and like got coffee and stuff, my plan was to sit down and make videos. And I went over and the battery in my camera was dead. And I was like, oh my God. And then Alex was coming home and I was like, I don't know that I want to make him feel like he has to go upstairs, you know? Because like that's part of the problem with like, I love our condo, but it's a perfect size for us. But part of the problem is I don't have like a separate room to just like go in and film videos, if that makes sense. So if I'm going to film videos, like while he's there, he has to go upstairs. And so I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna spend time with Alex. So that's what I did. I just spent time with Alex today. It was really nice for us just to kind of hang out. And but I was like, this is really weird. Like this is the second day in a row that I haven't posted any videos besides my vlog. And I actually had videos that I like knew what I was gonna make. Like I had written it down last night what I wanted to make. So hopefully I'll get to it tomorrow. But then tomorrow we have all kinds of stuff to do in the afternoon. So unless I get up early and get the videos done, because we're supposed to be over at Melissa's by like between 4 and 5. So unless I get up early, I don't know how I'm gonna get it all done. I don't want to go. I mean, I guess I could, but I don't really want to go 3 days without posting a video on any of my other channels. I miss doing it. There is like ice all over my car, you guys. Do you want to see my side window? Look at this. Here's the intersection. Bleak winter. I was out scraping the windshield off and taking all of the ice off. I had like my hand, come on, camera. I had like my coat wrapped around my hand as I was knocking ice off my windshield wipers. Like that is what winter is like in Indianapolis. So much fun. And this is like nothing compared to what it used to be like back in the day. Like back in the day, when I was like growing up, high school, college, like this was like average day in the winter in Indiana. Now everybody freaks out, and it was funny, I read in the comments that, I think it was Victoria said that she was doing her snow shopping at 5 o'clock in the morning, and somebody was like, what is snow shopping? And she said, like when you get all your food for like the snowstorm that's coming. And she said all of the bread was gone. It's always weird because when you go to the grocery store during like a snowstorm like this, people always get milk and bread, and which is crazy because it's like, are you like, what are you gonna do, make French toast for the rest of your life? Like, why are those the two things that people always gravitate towards? You know what I mean? And it's always been like that forever since I can remember. Oh my God, we were sitting watching RuPaul's Drag Race tonight. What time was this about? Well, it would have been, we were almost done with it. So it would have been about 8:30. And all of a sudden, like, the trees behind our house just like lit up green. It was so weird, you guys. And I keep on like feeling my tooth because my teeth are kind of hurting, but it's weird. It's like my whole, like I was talking about this yesterday, it's like this whole side. I wonder if I'm not like grinding my teeth in my sleep. I used to grind my teeth, and I'm wondering if I'm not doing it again because my teeth, it's like, but it's like all of this right here that hurts. I need to make an appointment to go to the dentist. But the whole like sky lit up green. It was so weird, you guys. And so I was like, Alex was like, did you just see the sky light up green? And I was like, yeah, what was that? And I'm so afraid this lip is gonna like totally split in half. It hurts so bad. It's like right here. And he was like, I don't know. And so we were kind of like sitting there waiting for a second. And then I went to the window and looked out the window. And I was totally having this Night of the Comet feeling. I was like, if I look right at it, it's gonna zap me. Do you guys ever see that movie, Night of the Comet? I loved that movie, Night of the Comet. But anyway, my favorite part was when they went shopping in the mall and they thought they were all alone and that guy was like over the announcements. Anyway. It hurts. So, we were sitting there and all of a sudden it happened again. And it was like really bright, like this bright green, but you couldn't really see because it was so cloudy outside. So you couldn't really see it behind the clouds, right? And this road is not so clean. I mean, it's plowed, but not as plowed as the other ones. And it was so weird. And so Alex goes, let's go look out the front of the house. So like we went to like the front and we were standing out there and it was so windy. It's like really died down now. There's like no wind right now. But earlier tonight, what was the worst was the wind. It was like the wind was really, really, really heavy. Really heavy? Really hard. And it was like blowing like crazy. That McDonald's is closed down. That McDonald's is never closed down. Almost because of the weather. We didn't see the green lights again, but then I started like Googling it. I was like, green lights over Indianapolis, and there was nothing for tonight. But apparently, like last week in Michigan, people saw like green lights in the sky, and I guess it was like a meteor. And then in Indianapolis on Wednesday of this week, because it was like January 18th or something, excuse me, people saw green lights over the city. And I'm like, this is, and they said it was a meteor? And I was like, this is so weird that people are seeing this, you know, like, what is this? So I don't know. Did anybody else, if you're in Indiana, did you see this green light? Does anybody know what this green light is? And the other night, I was watching Ancient Aliens, and Alex was like, I think, so tonight he knew that. I was talking to him about it, something about Ancient Aliens the other night, and he was like, he goes, I think this is aliens because you were watching the show the other night. I was like, you're such an idiot. He was like, no, I really do. I think it's aliens. I was like, well, I'm not convinced that it's not aliens. And that we weren't just abducted and we just don't know. My lip hurts. Do you guys ever split your lip? Oh, God, it hurts bad. It's like not split like all the way, and so I'm trying to be like real careful with it because I hate when my lip splits all the way. I feel like since Christmas and New Year's, like I haven't really gotten my days back on track yet. I feel like my days have just been completely, like I don't know if it's like Tuesday or Saturday. And I feel like because of like when Christmas and New Year's hit, that it's been that way. And I need to like sit down and make some like schedule for my life. I feel like I'm kind of like off track, you know what I mean? I feel like I also didn't like do a whole lot this weekend other than go out to dinner with like Melissa and Jason last night and Alex. You know, it's really hard for me, like I said, to like just like not do a whole lot. I've been listening to The Stranger Beside Me a lot. I'm really, really into that book. It was funny how many people commented on that last night in the vlog. A couple people were like, oh my God, I read it. Somebody was saying that they read it and they never saw like the personality of Anne Rule until I mentioned that. And then somebody somebody else commented and compared it to, God, who did they compare it to? Somebody else that I had read on here recently or talked about on here recently, and I was like, oh, that's so true. Like, I see that comparison. Shoot, I can't remember who it was, but I was like, yeah, that is so true. I see that comparison completely. And I kind of like thought, like, she doesn't, I wouldn't say she comes across as like a know-it-all. It's just this kind of like, I don't know, and like, it just seems like she's very interested. Like, her story, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that her story isn't interesting, but like, not many people are going to read the story of Ted Bundy to hear about Ann Rule, you know what I mean? I mean, in context, like, if she's talking about her life, like, it makes sense, but the stuff that's, like, not in context, I don't think that I necessarily need to know about the life of Ann Rule. And it's interesting, especially, like, reading Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, about the Golden State Killer, because she is so humble, like, in her writing. And she does weave in bits and pieces of, like, her own story, but she'll talk about, like, being at home and being, like, kind of consumed with, like, you know, like, even though, like, her husband and her kids are there. Like, you never once, in her book, she never once, like, really talks up the fact that her husband is Patton Oswalt. And what was so weird was when I read the book, I think, like, the end of it is by Patton Oswalt, not the beginning. I think the beginning is by, what's her name, that wrote Gone Girl. Oh, shoot, why can't I think of her name? But anyway, oh, shoot, why can't I remember her name? Anyway, at the end, Patton Oswalt is her husband, who's an actor. I don't know if you guys know who Patton Oswalt is, but he's in, like, voiceovers. He's, like, an actor. He's, like, real famous. So, you don't really know. I mean, she mentions his name through the book, and she says that, like, who her husband is, but, like, she doesn't bring a lot of attention to it. And that she's, like, the wife of, like, a movie star. Like, she doesn't really say that. She'll say, like, oh, we were at this, you know, like, movie premiere or whatever. But, like, she doesn't even say it like that. And she'll say, we were just at home. And I don't know. It's just, it's like, she's very humble in how she writes about her own life. My nose is absolutely driving me crazy right now. I feel like I'm getting sick again. But she is very humble in her writing about herself and her part of the story and her interest in the story and things like that. So to read another author, especially an author that's so prolific like Ann Rule, I mean, when you talk about true crime, I mean, true crime and Ann Rule are kind of synonymous. And, like, her book is so much, like, about her. It's, I don't know, like, and the more, this is what's crazy, the more I read it, the more interested in it, and the more interested I become in the life of Ann Rule. So, maybe that's part of the attraction to her. I don't know, like, the more she talks about her kids and whatever, but it's just very interesting to me. If you've read it, did you get the idea? I'm going to talk about this in the live stream discussion and also my video that I do on it. But did anybody else get the feeling that Ann Rule had a crush on Ted Bundy? I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, the way that she talks about him. I'm like, okay, you kind of had a crush on Ted Bundy. Did you even, I mean, we're talking about a serial killer. Hello? She doesn't seem to care, though, apparently. $24-hour dental care, extractions as low as $73. Can you take out all 8 of these teeth? My teeth are hurting me. I love when you drive by somebody and they have like a little like window like of their windshield like scraped out and then like a little window over here and you're like, do you really even think that's safe at all to do? Not to say that I haven't driven that way before in my life when it's like so cold outside you don't want to scrape your windows at anything and you're just like, I can't wait 40 minutes for this windshield to defrost, and you literally scrape off just enough to see your mirror and just enough to see that in the back. Like that's all you do, right? I don't know where my sensors are in the back of the car, like if there's something behind the car, but the snow was like, we had enough snow in our driveway that was like pushed in because like when they came through and cleaned the streets, they like must have pushed it into the driveway. And so, but I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't go through it, you know what I mean? It was like probably less than, I don't know, it was like it was like what we had and then maybe like an inch or two more, so 6 or 7 inches. It was like powdery snow. It wasn't like I couldn't drive through it, but I was backing up and all of a sudden this big like red thing came on and it said brake and it was like, Arr! And I'm like, what is that? It like was like my rear sensor coming on, basically saying that I couldn't back up because there was something behind the car. And I was like, oh my God, is there somebody standing behind the car? What is going on? And there was nobody behind the car. It was just the snow. Yeah. Talked to Tanya earlier tonight, and she was staying in. I was like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm sitting by the fireplace. I don't want to do anything. She's like, I've been watching TV all day long. She's like, I worked, and then I came home, and I've just been in front of the TV. I said, well, what are you doing tonight? She's like, I don't want to do anything tonight. She was like, I just want to stay by the fire and watch TV. I was like, okay. We got laughing. I don't know if I've ever told this story on here. I should tell it with Tanya. It's better to tell it with Tanya, but oh, should I wait and tell the story with Tanya some night? Well, I can't tell the story and include the person's name. We only know their first name anyway. But you know, like, here, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about because I'm coming up on it and this to tell this story. And then I'll tell it now, and then I'll tell it with Tanya. But I have to show you what I'm talking about, and this is a perfect example because I'm in a parking lot. So I'm going to show you guys. Well, I'm coming into a parking lot. Okay, so when they plow, here, they're plowing this right now. You can see, here's a plow guy right there going through the... Okay, do you see these snow mounds? So when they plow the parking lots, this is what they do with the snow. Do you see this? Okay. These big snow mounds. Now, these are big. Like, that's a really, really tall one, okay? But, like, this one is a good example of what the story that I'm about to tell you. Do you see that? Okay. Just keep this in mind when I'm about to show you. So, you see, like, you can get a running start and then drive up and get... Okay. So, do you see, like, that one over there is huge. Do you see that one? Okay. Kind of pretty outside, actually, but... So Tanya and I think I've told this story on here before, but I have to tell it again for those people that haven't heard it. So Tanya and I, it was a Tuesday night, and my ex, like, we hadn't gone to our meeting because the roads were so bad, like, earlier, but this was like 11 o'clock at night. And so they had cleared the roads, and like they had cleared all this, and or maybe our meeting was like, although they don't ever really cancel a meeting, but maybe they canceled the meeting that night. I don't know, I can't remember. But or maybe we had gone to the meeting. I don't remember. I need Tanya here to tell the story. But we were like driving to go get a fountain pop, right? And it was Tanya and I, and Tanya was in the back seat, and my ex was in the front seat. And we were driving in like the north side of Indianapolis, and we see one of those snow mounds, right? Like over there. And all of a sudden, Tanya goes, there's somebody parked on one of those snow mounds. And I go, Tanya, what are you talking about? She goes, look over there. There's somebody that's parked on one of those snow mounds. My lip just started to rip a little bit. Hold on. And I look over, and lo and behold, there is this like Suzuki Jeep parked on top of one of these like car mounds, right? Like they had like gone like that, and then doom, like that. And just like, I mean, okay, it's gonna stop. Hold on. Like they had like driven up real fast and then just clunked themselves like into the snow, right? And I was like, oh my God, that is crazy. Like, what happened? She's like, I don't know. Like, how did they get over there? So we like drove closer to see like what had happened, because Tanya's like, drive closer, drive closer. Now, you have to understand the history of Tanya, okay? So Tanya forever boarded like the canine cops and stuff like that, the dogs. And so whenever we would be driving around and she would see something that happened, like if somebody got pulled over or whatever, Tanya like knew all the police, she like knows all the police officers in the area. And she's like, pull over. She's like, I want to see what's going on. And I'm like, no, Tanya, I'm not going to pull over. She's like, I know them, pull over. And so she would pull over, and she'd be like, hey guys, Tanya, you know, and they'd be like, oh, hi. She's like, I board all the, they'd be like, oh, hi, Tanya, how are you? And she's like, fine, just want to see if you guys need any help. And I'd be like, oh my God, like they need our help, right? So whenever we would see something out there, Tanya always felt like she was the investigator of the world. So we pull up and we see that there is a woman in this car, okay? And she's like this, sitting in the car. I mean, the car is completely just stuck in the snow, and she's just sitting here like this, hand, you know, at 10 and 2, still on the steering wheel, like she's ready to take off, okay? So we pull up next to it. So we're like looking this way, and the woman's like, the passenger side of her car is like, we're now like parallel. Does this make sense? And so she's over there, and Tanya is like, what's going on? And like, the woman is not looking at us. She's just like this. And she, like, we're all, you know, 3 of us like looking over at her like this, right? And she's just like sitting like this in the car. And Tanya's like, what's going on with her? And I was like, I don't know what's going on with her. I go, but does she not see us? So like, Tanya goes, roll down your window. So I roll down my window, and we're like, hey, and she's like this. She like won't move. Hold on a second. Do you hear this like on my car? It's like so loud because they have the snow so compacted. But anyway, so she's like, the woman like won't move. She won't look at us or anything. And Tanya's like, you're gonna have to get out and see if she sees you. And I'm like, ugh. I go, okay. I go, why does it always have to be me? Tanya goes, just get out of the car and go see if she's okay. She goes, maybe she's not okay. And I said, okay. So I get out of my car, right? And I go, and I'm like this. And she's like, just completely like this, like looking straight ahead. So I climb up on the snowbank, right? And I'm like tapping on the window, and she's still acting like she doesn't see me. And I'm like, ma'am, I was like, are you okay? Like, are you know, do you need some help? And she's like, I'm fine. And I go, you're on top of a snowbank. I go, do you know that? I go, do you need us to call somebody to help? I can't. I need Tanya here to tell the whole thing, but she's like, I was like, do you need some help? She's like, no, I'm fine. So I go, so I look at Tanya, and Tanya's like, you need to go around and you need to see if she needs help. Go on the other side. Like, you know, maybe she doesn't understand, you know? I'm like, what do you mean she doesn't understand? So I go around to the other side, and the woman, like, still will not look at me. She's like face forward like this, right? And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. She's like, I was just looking for a parking place. And I'm like, you're what? And there's like a bar right in there, right? Like there's like this like little local bar that's in there. And she's like, yeah, I'm just looking for a parking place. I was just going into whatever this bar was. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking around the parking lot. There's nobody there. Okay, I mean, there's not one person there. It's like, if this is bad out tonight, it was like 3 times as bad as this, right? And she's like, I'm just looking for a parking space. And I'm like, ma'am, I go, you're on top of us, and I'm like shouting it because I'm through a window, right? And I'm like, ma'am, you're on top of a snowbank. I go, your car's not gonna move. I go, please let us help you. And she's like, no, I'm okay. And I said, can you roll down your window so I can talk to you? She literally rolls her window down like that much. And I'm like, woo! I'm like, oh man, like all this alcohol just wafts out the window, right? I mean, I could smell alcohol like a mile away. And I'm like, so I went back to the car and I said to Tanya, I go, she's been drinking. I go, I can smell it. I go, it is like, the alcohol is just like coming from the car. I can totally smell it, like when she opens the window. And she's like, we've got to get her out of there and get her home. Like, I'm worried. Tanya goes, I'm worried about her. I go, well, I'm worried about her too, but she won't get out of the car. So Tanya goes, go back over there, whatever. So I go back over there. And Tanya's like, but I'm not sitting in, she goes, but I'm not sitting in the back seat with her. She says to my ex, she goes, you have to get in the back seat. So they changed seats. Oh, I think at some point Tanya came over and Tanya was like, ma'am, you need to get out of the car and you need to come with us. Because I think the woman was like, I don't, you know, whatever. And so Tanya came over and she's like, ma'am, you need to get out of the car. She's like, you're on top of a snow pile or whatever. Tanya said something to her at some point. And so she ended up, I don't know why this thing is telling me winter storm warning until 9 o'clock when it's 2:20 in the morning. So, somebody said that I can turn that car restarter thing off with an A. I guess I don't really mind it so much. My friend was like, you kind of get used to it over time, but it doesn't bother me too much after a while. But anyway, I think Tanya came back over and said with me, like, she said to her, like, you need to come with us. So the woman at some point, I don't know what happens, but finally she gets out of the car, right? And she literally has on flip-flops and, like, pajama pants and, like, a tank top, okay? In the middle of winter with, like, this, like, fleece jacket kind of thing. I mean, she was totally not dressed for blizzard weather, obviously, in her pajama pants and flip-flops. And, so we get her into the car, and she's, like, in the back car, and, we start driving, and, so Tanya's now, like, turned around in the front seat, right? And she was like, what are you doing out on a night like this? And the woman's like, what are you doing out on a night like this? And she's, like, wasted drunk, right? And Tanya's like, well, you probably wouldn't believe this, but we were on our way to a 12-step meeting. Or we had gone to a 12-step meeting earlier. We go to a 12-step meeting on, I don't know, whatever, like, if it had been canceled, or I can't remember. But anyway, she was like, and the woman goes, oh, I tried those classes, they don't work. And Tanya's like, well, did you ever do an inventory? Did you ever do a 4-step? Did you ever have a sponsor? I looked at her, I go, Tanya, okay, enough. And she's like, so the woman's like, yeah, they try to make me go to those classes don't work. So anyway, they kind of they're going back and forth about classes, which cracks me up when people call them classes. So anyway, Tanya goes, well, can you tell us where you live so that we can, can you tell us where you live? And the woman goes, no. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And she goes, I can't tell you where I live. And Tanya goes, and my ex is in the back seat. He's just, like, laughing, right? And Tanya's like, what do you mean you can't tell us where you live? And she's like, I don't know who you people are. I don't know what your intentions are or something. She's like, but I'm not going to tell you where I live. And Tanya's like, we're trying to take you home. Like, and she goes, well, I'll just tell you where to turn. And Tanya's like, okay. So she, like, we get up to this light, and she's like, turn here, which is, like, off this main road that Tanya and I still to this day, let's just say her name was Judy Smith, since I use Judy Smith all the time, right? So this main road that Tanya and I drive off of, her, like, street, like, well, you have to turn down that street and another street and another street, but, like, that street turns into, like, her neighborhood. And so whenever we drive by there now, we're always like, hey, Judy. And, so she, I think I did tell this story not too long ago, because I was talking about my mom in a grocery store. I'll tell that story in a second. Because you never really know, like, when you see somebody, where the seed is planted kind of thing. So the whole thing turned out very sad. But, so finally, she, like, let us know where she lived, and we, like, got her back to her house and stuff. And so Tanya, my ex was like, I'm going to take her inside. He was like, I'll get her inside. And so he gets her inside, and, she apparently, like, had, like, there was all of these, like, wine bottles, like, all over the floor and all over the house. And, like, she had a dog, like, he came out with the dog, and to, like, let the dog go outside, go potty. And, so, and then, like, the neighbors came out from across the street, and Tanya went to the neighbors, and she was like, hey, I just, she explained the situation. She goes, her car was on top of this car mound, and we just wanted to make sure that she got home safely, and can you let her know tomorrow? And they were kind of like, I guess they kind of insinuated that, like, this hadn't been the first time, like, something like this had happened. And Tanya's like, well, I just want her to know that, her car is safe and where it is and whatever. And my ex, like, left a note, and he said, like, we brought you home, blah, 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 your car is at such and such place. If you want to talk to us, here are our numbers and our names. And he, like, left our names and our numbers. And then we left. Never heard from her, never saw her. The next day we went by the place, and the car was gone off the car mound. I don't know, it was just so sad, And then what was weird was, I told this story not too long ago that my mom was in the grocery store this one time, and somebody had said to her, like, when she was drinking, like, she was going through the line and she had all this liquor, and this woman said to her, like, it can't be that bad, right? And so this woman that I know that's sober, I didn't find this out actually until after my mom had passed away, but I found it out through somebody else. She had been at the grocery store with my mom. And, like, not with my mom, but, like, she had been, like, in front of my mom at the grocery store, but she had had this liquor. My mom basically said the same thing to her that had been said to her. As a result, this woman ended up getting sober down the road, and then saw my mom, like, in meetings, like, and just felt weirdly indebted to her because of that, you know? And the thing is that you never know. Like, Tanya and I have said this to this day. We've been like, wouldn't it be weird if, like, because I know her name, and this woman that we, like, took home had kind of, like, a unique name. Like, if she came into a meeting, like, I would know that it was her, if that makes sense. Like, I remember vaguely what she looks like, and her name is different enough that if we saw her, we would know that it was her, if that makes sense. Especially because we go to meetings in that area. And, it's like you just, you know, you hope that at some point with people, like, and maybe, you know, maybe she's not an alcoholic. Maybe she was just going through a really rough, you know, patch of her life. But it's so sad. So sad. All the people that are, like, silently struggling out there, you know. You know, it's interesting when you think about things like snowstorms and stuff. I think the guy that wrote Alf, because he got sober, and I believe that he was either like a cocaine or a heroin addict. He wrote a book about his experience of getting sober. I don't know if anybody's read it. I have not read it. I heard it was fantastic, though. But I believe that it was during the LA riots, and he couldn't get out to get drugs. My camera is so hot right now, you guys. He couldn't get out to get drugs, and so he went through withdrawals in his apartment. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Did anybody read this book? I feel like they made it into a movie too, maybe. But it's supposed to be like really good encounter of all of that. But you know, you wonder in situations like this when, I mean, you can't get out in the snow, you know, like, what do people do when they start going through withdrawals? Like, it's got to be kind of scary, you know? You know, it's interesting because, like, back in the day, when 12-step meetings started, you know, 12-step programs started, like, we detoxed our own. I guess I should, it's like hard because, like, I try to be fair, like, by saying, like, I try to just say 12-step programs, to not say any specific program. But then every once in a while, somebody will say, well, that's not true of this program, because the programs are different. They are, like, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous is different from Narcotics Anonymous, blah, 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 whatever, right? Like, there's different, I mean, they're similar, but there's a lot that's different, if that makes sense. And when I say 12-step programs, people think that I'm talking overall for all of the 12-step programs, which I'm not. I'm just trying to not be specific to any one out of violation of traditions, if that makes sense. I don't want to do that. But I guess I should say specifically in Alcoholics Anonymous, like back in the day, like in the 40s, you know, we detoxed our own. And, you know, you look at that today and people don't know. And what I mean by that is, like, they would, like, you know, if you drank so much, they would, like, give you that much. And then the next day, give you a little bit less, and then a little bit less, and a little bit less. And they would have, like, a doctor that, you know, like, knew what they were doing to work with you. And then you would detox your own. Like, we didn't have, we had, if you were in an institution as a result of it, like, it was because you were, like, in a psychiatric hospital. Like, that's where alcoholics went back in the day, right? And drug addicts and things like that. I don't know what they did with drug addicts, and I don't want to speak to that because I don't have that knowledge. Because I know the history of, you know, I don't know the history of Narcotics Anonymous. Not all of it. But you think about that today, and it's like how dangerous that is. Like, I would, you know, when people ask me, you know, I'm always like, whenever somebody says to me, like, do you think, like, so, like, my brother-in-law, do you think that this, or, you know, I'm making this up right now, or, like, my sister, or my, you know, grandma, or my best friend, do you, like, think that they need to be detoxed? And I'm like, that's a medical professional question. Like, you know, anybody that is drinking, like, a regular amount, you need to have them evaluated by a physician, because they can have seizures. It's very, very dangerous. You don't know what could happen to them, you know? And, I think it's really, really scary. I mean, I know of people that go into medical seizures as a result of withdrawals, you know, and like recently I've heard of that. Scary. It's really, really scary, you know? So if you know somebody, don't ever let them try to do that on their own, you know? Make sure that they go get medical, you know, help because they need it. Like, it's not something that people can do, you know, without, like, vast knowledge of how to do it. I love when I am reading the comments and you guys are comfortable enough to share your own sobriety stories in there, and you'll say things like, well, I've been sober for like 5 months, or I've been sober for 3 years, or what. I love that. I love that you guys feel comfortable enough to do that. And then there are people underneath there that are like, congratulations, oh, I'm so proud of you, congratulations. Like, that is so awesome, you know? And the thing is that, you know, when I got sober, if I had heard my story of somebody having 24 years sober, I'd be like, oh, he's lying, or, oh, it must just be so easy at some point, which, I mean, that there's truth and there's false and truth statements to both of that, you know, that it's easy and things like that. But I think sometimes the reason why you sharing that in a comment or you sharing your story underneath my videos is so important is because for somebody that's trying to get sober, they're going to relate more to somebody that has 5 months sober or 30 days sober. They're going to see that and be like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. I can do 5 months. Because see, when I got sober, don't tell me that you had 20 years, because that didn't mean anything to me. Okay, first of all, I would have said you were a liar. I would have been like, no, there's nobody that's 20 years sober. That's bullshit, right? But like, if somebody said that they had 30 days, I could get behind that. I could be like, okay, I can do that, right? You know, but I couldn't imagine 20 years or even 5 years for that matter. I don't know that I could have, you know? Sometimes it's so weird to me that I have been sober this long, like, honest to God, like, it just seems surreal to me sometimes. I mean, I've been sober over half my life. Like, that's crazy. I guess what seems crazy about it is, like I can really remember, like, using. So I think, like, that's what's weird to me, you know? Like, I can remember, like back when I was using, like, alcohol, of course, was easy as long as I had money, right? To get. Smoking weed, getting weed was easy. It was all around. I mean, it wasn't good marijuana. I mean, today people are obsessed with strains and things like that. I mean, we didn't care back then. It was just like, I mean, I don't even remember thinking about that stuff, you know? And then, actually, cocaine was pretty easy to come by. I do remember pills were hard, actually, and I was, you know, a Vicodin addict. It was one of my main drugs of choice was Vicodin, and I can remember it being hard to find Vicodin, and expensive, too. And, but, like, when I think back on that life, you know, when you really think about it, too, which realistically, like, my life of living on my own in my apartment and partying hard was really 18 to 19, 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 21 to 22. It was 4.5 years of my life. Like, yeah, I used in high school, I used in middle school and stuff like that, but nowhere near the level that I did from 18 to 22 and a half when I got sober. And really, I would say 21 and a half to 22 and a half when I got sober was the worst of it, that last year. So when I look back on that, it's crazy to think, I mean, that was when I used everything I was gonna, anything I ever tried, well, not everything, but like most of the stuff that I ever tried, I tried in that last 2 years. That was when I was using cocaine regularly. That was when I, had started smoking crack cocaine. That's when I look back. So really, 2 years out of 46, almost 47 years of my life is what my addiction was about. And I think that sometimes, like, I would never just hand over my sobriety. I just wouldn't do that. But the times in my life that I thought to myself, well, maybe you're not an addict. Maybe you're not an alcoholic, It's that is triggering. And I think that's why, like yesterday, I was talking about like the need to continue to go to meetings and the need to continue to, have my place in a 12-step program and work with a sponsor and do steps and service work and things like that. Is I got to remember where I come from, because I think that as long as I remember where I came from, I have a chance for tomorrow. But the second that I forget where I came from, the second that I start forgetting those 2 to 3 years of my life where it was absolutely treacherous, is where I can start convincing myself, well, maybe you didn't really have a problem. You were so young back then. Maybe it was just you were a substance abuser. Maybe it's just that you aren't really chemically dependent. Maybe it's that you're a substance abuser, Maybe it was just that period of your life where you felt lost and lonely and you didn't really have, like any kind of understanding of who you are. So maybe you could smoke a joint. Maybe you could, I don't think people say joints today, do they? Maybe you could smoke a blunt. Maybe you could, have a glass of red wine or a beer. And then what happens is, and I've seen this happen to people that I know, they have that beer. And of course, the beer isn't like this major relapse. But once the alcohol hits your lips, it's like, well, you fucked that up. 24 years of your life is gone, Like everything, like this would be how my mind would think. I'm not saying that that's the truth. I'm just saying that that's how my mind would think. Well, you screwed that up, So it really wasn't that glass of Merlot that you wanted anyway, It was really the Xanax that you never got to try, or the Mike's Hard Lemonade, which your comments about Mike's Hard Lemonade were hilarious. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's like all those things that you wanted to try. It's like, and then it's like really what you wanted to try, what you're missing, what you're chasing is that feeling. Well, as long as I'm doing that feeling of wanting to be numb, that feeling of not wanting to feel, that feeling of not wanting to be in pain, that feeling of you can't hurt me, that feeling of, like no matter what you say, like you can't hurt my feelings, all of that, right? That the drugs and the alcohol took away from me. It made me feel fulfilled. It made me feel confident. It made me feel... But I've been working on that shit for 24 years of my life. And specifically the last, I would say 5 or 10 years, I've really worked really hard on it, And so, well, the last 5 years since I've come back in. And so, I don't have a need for those things. I didn't get to it before it stopped. I started saying it's going to stop. But, I don't have a need to... for those things today. But that's the trap I think that people get into, is like, oh, well, it's just a beer on the beach kind of thing. Well, it's not just a beer on the beach. It's what that represents, It's interesting, like one of the questions I get asked, like about addiction, like one of the main questions, I'm kind of trying to think of like how I would say it, themes, one of the main themes I get asked a lot is in the direction of like, it's really 2 questions. Like, do you need to go to meetings for the rest of your life? And don't you think you could even just have like a beer or a glass of wine, right? Like you're 24 years sober. Do you really think you couldn't have a glass of wine or a beer at this point? Okay. So, what's interesting to me about that is I don't really think that, like, I don't think that's an ignorant question. I actually think that's a really educated question when people ask that, because I think what they're saying is, I want to understand the alcoholic mind. I want to understand the addict mind, if that makes sense. Like, I want to understand why you're different than how I think. And that is really, truly what it is, right? So when people want to argue and say that, the addict, alcoholic mind is no different. Like, there's no such disease as addiction or whatever. What you've just said in that question is, I understand that there's a difference. Why, for you, can you not just have a beer at 24 years sober? Like, that's baffling to me, right? And I think that's an excellent question. I really, really do. I really wish I understood that question too, why I can't, you know? But I'll tell you why I don't. I don't know why I can't. I don't know what is built inside of me that's different than anybody else. You know, I've heard addictionologists across the world speak about, like, you know, the hypothalamus and things like that we possibly have in our brain that is different than other people. I don't know how much of that is true. I don't know, you know, I don't know how much. I believe in a genetic predisposition for addiction, but I don't know how true that is. You know what I mean? I just know that because I'm riddled with it in both sides of my family. You know, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, mother, things like that. You know, so that's where my belief system comes from about it. But I'll tell you why I don't, is that, let's say if after 24 years of sobriety at 46 years old with, you know, financial stability, a husband that I love, 3 dogs, wonderful family relationships today that I've built over the last 24 years, the best friend of my entire life, okay? Let's say if I have a beer and I can handle it, okay? Let's say if I have a beer and I realize I'm not an alcoholic, or I smoke a blunt and I realize I'm not an addict and I can do that, you know? That it was just a phase of my life. What is a beer or a blunt, or even like a Vicodin or a Xanax or whatever, going to do for me that's going to change my life so positively that I have to have it? Like, what is it really going to do for me that's really going to profoundly impact my life for the positive, okay? Like, if tomorrow I could start going out to dinner, because I'll say to you, like one of the things that came up, and I'll say to you, one of the things that's come up to us, like, or come up in marriage counseling is that I've told Alex, like, do you not think that there have been times that, like, I've been jealous that, you know, like, you can get, you know, intoxicated with your brothers and, you know, have a fun drunk night, but I've never been able to be drunk with my husband, you know? Like, I know, like, that sounds like something crazy that you would even think about, but I have thought about that, you know? And he's like, but if you're not sober, you don't have me in your life, like, because you would lose everything, is what you've said. And I'm like, right. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't just, like, once like to have a wild drunk night with my husband, you know, like dancing in bars in Miami, or, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the part of my alcoholic addict that romances those good times, okay, when I was drinking. Like, hey, I'm a fun drunk too. Like, hey, I could go out and I could drink you under the table. I could do more shots than anybody's done. You know, like, those are the things that in my head I hear. I don't go to all of the multiple arrests that I had and the looks of disappointment in my family members and friends' eyes, you know, and the breakups that I had and the not remembering how I got home and all that kind of stuff. I go to the romancing of the drinking and the drugging, you know? And really, in the long run, like, how important is a drunken night with my husband versus all the fantastic nights that we've had sober? You know what I mean? So, I mean, Tanya and I have talked about that too. Like, we were fun back in the day. We didn't know each other when we were drinking, you know? Tanya and I'll never forget this one day, we were walking in, I think it was in Target or somewhere, and they had those little kegs of Heineken, you know? And Tanya and I both, like, walked by it, and I was like, can you imagine just sitting on your patio drinking that for the rest of the day? But, you know, like, the payoff that we get for sobriety is, like, we get so much more, you know what I mean? So the thing is that I could go have a beer. There's nothing stopping me. You know, it's not like I'm terrified that if I had a beer tomorrow or a glass of wine, I would, like, go completely off the deep end and, you know, within a matter of 3 or 4 days, be hunting down heroin and wondering where it was. But what if I was? I've never used heroin. I've never used Oxycontin. I'm an addict. My mind ticks. I wonder what those things are like, you know? I have no idea. See, this is the thing. Once I put that sip of alcohol in my body or whatever, at that point, and this is the part that I think people don't understand. When we talk about willingness, okay, or when we talk about willpower, right? Like, I'm a believer, like, I know there's a lot of addicts and alcoholics that don't believe this, but I'm a believer that once I have some sobriety, I have a lot of willpower until I pick up. But once I pick up, that willpower is gone. Because it's like I was talking, last night about, was it last night I was talking about this? About the allergy. It's like, once I'm stung by the bee, I'm screwed. Like, all of the side effects are going to come out. Well, it's the same thing with drinking or drugging, Once I've taken that sip of alcohol, like I used to, people would say to me, like, do you think you could go into a bar and have like a Jack and Coke? Oh, absolutely. I know I could go into a bar and have a Jack and Coke, but listen, okay? I wouldn't even have to finish that drink, because as soon as that first, I know how my mind is. As soon as that first sip of alcohol touched my lips, off to the races. I'm already in my head planning out the party. You know what I mean? And that's just not worth it to me. I'm just not willing to hand over my life today like that. I have too fantastic of a life. I have wonderful friends. I have wonderful family. I have relationships with people that I never dreamed. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. I have this amazing life. I get to make videos that people want to watch. Like, I get to write a book. I have a house today. Like, I have dogs. I have a husband. I have his family. I mean, I have a life I never thought possible. I am not willing to throw that away for my need to wonder whether or not I can have a glass of wine or a beer. It's just not that important to me. It just isn't. I think because I'm terrified of the outcome. And I'm pretty sure that if I did, I know what would happen. I know it would go down, Like, I don't say, like, oh, I could have a drink arrogantly. I don't mean it like that. I mean, like, do I think that I could sit there and have a drink and walk away? Sure, but it's the mental obsession. It's the physical allergy combined with the mental obsession. And so what happens is, as I'm sitting there, the mental obsession is ticking in, and I've already taken the drink. So I'm already in my head. I'm at home with every alcohol you can possibly imagine that has come out in the last 24 years. And I'm calling up people trying to get drugs that I've never tried. And then all of a sudden it's leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. And I'm trying to kill myself because what I realized was that, you know what? Like, this disease is just as active in me at 24 years later as it was 24 years ago. And then I've lost everything in the blink of an eye. So sure, I could, but is it worth it? No, it's not worth it. And that's faith. I mean, you want to talk about spiritual faith? That has nothing to do with a higher power. That has nothing to do with a God. That has to do with faith, that I know what my life is going to look like if I pick up. And I'm not willing to hand over my life today. I'm just not. And I've seen so many people do it, and it breaks my heart. It makes me so sad, I've seen people lose everything, all for that, just wanting to test and see if they could have one drink. I'm not willing to do it. I'm just not. Too scared. When you go to the zoo, and you, like, see the lion, and you respect the lion, right? Because it's like, maybe you learn a lot from the lion, okay? And maybe the lion has taught you a lot as you're sitting there, and you learn a lot about the lion's behaviors and, our interactions with the lion. But the lion has a big roar, and you don't really know how the lion's gonna, this is such a bad analogy, but whatever. You don't really know how the lion's going to act, okay? So you sure as shit aren't gonna get into the cage with the lion, okay? You just aren't. Because you don't know what's gonna happen, so you keep a respectful distance from the lion. Well, that's kind of me with using, like, I respect addiction enough to know that I don't need to go and be in a cage with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to test it. I just don't. Because what if that roar becomes too loud and then it starts attacking me? And I can't get away from that addiction. That's what scares me. These little houses in here are like along the strip. I'm like in Zionsville, are so sweet. And it's like you see people like, they're just like, have their lights on in their like living rooms, and they're just like so cozy in there. I could totally just like have one of these little houses along here and keep my little lights on in the front room and read on the front porch. Oh, that camera is so hot. Read on the front porch and all that stuff. This poor guy out here shoveling snow. God, at 2:51 on a Saturday morning. No, thank you. that all came as a result of me telling the story of the woman on the snow mound. You guys, my dreams have been crazy the last week. It's interesting because the more that I've talked about dreams on here, the more vivid my dreams have been, and I've almost kind of wondered, like, if it's not as a result of that, you know what I mean? Like, me talking about dreams has made my dreams more, I don't know, but I haven't just had good dreams. I've also had some rather vivid nightmares. Do you guys ever notice when your dogs are dreaming and their little legs are running? Boo Radley does this thing where he'll kind of like moan, talk in his sleep. He's like, and he does it like real long. And I'm always like, I wonder what he's dreaming about, that he's like making that noise. Pee-Pee and Tucker are runners. They like run in their sleep. They're so cute, all of them. Little Pee-Pee's cough has not been good the last couple days. He's been coughing a little bit more than... It was right when I said, somebody asked me, they were like, how's Pee-Pee's cough? I think it was from my like Q&A, like I did a Q&A with Alex or something. I said his cough has been much better, or I talked about it on a video, or I don't know. But it was right after that, and it was like he coughed like twice that day, and then it was like twice the next day, and then it's been like the last 2 days. I told Alex tonight, I said, let's give him another half of Lasix tomorrow, because we haven't done that in forever. And he was like, okay. He's like, you can give another half tonight if you want. I go, no, because he'll like just end up having to pee all night long, and then the poor little guy can't sleep. I said, let's do it tomorrow, and he can, we can take him out a lot tomorrow. So he's like, okay. So we're gonna do that. It's a winter wonderland outside. Isn't it funny? Like, if you live anywhere like this, you'll know what I'm saying. It's like, it's pretty, and it's hot chocolate and sledding and possible snow days from school and all that kind of stuff. But it really doesn't have the same effect on you like after Christmas. Like before Christmas, it's like Santa in the North Pole. But after, like before, let's say before Christmas. Okay, before Christmas, like this kind of weather is like Santa in the North Pole. After Christmas, this is like some kind of, European spy movie is how it feels. There's nothing Christmassy about it. There's nothing winter wonderland about it. It's like, okay, I'm ready for spring. And I love this weather. I absolutely love it. But depending on like how long it's gonna last. Like if we're gonna have a month straight of this, I'd rather have it all at once and then be melted in like 3 or 4 days and be able to have fun with it. Like, you know what I mean? Because I will say, like, cleaning off the car and all that kind of stuff is not fun. I don't love that. This car, the windshield, like now it's completely clear. The windshield's clear up pretty. The door, this window had ice all over it when I got in my car. But like it cleared off pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. What are you guys doing this fine Sunday? Are you just hanging out at home? Are you watching the football game? What football game? I don't even know who's playing. So I guess tomorrow's the Colts and I don't know who. Isn't the Super Bowl coming up? If your boyfriends are watching right now with you, all of you young ladies out there that tell me that your boyfriends and husbands watch with you, they're laughing their asses off right now. So I used to go to Tanya's back in the day. This was like the year that I was like single, and I think it was that year, and she would always have these, she doesn't do it anymore, she would have these like football parties on Sundays where she would make like a big pot of chili and stuff, and I would go over there because she would invite me, right? But like, I don't watch football and I don't know shit about football, and my parents tried to teach me because both my parents loved college sports, and so they tried to teach me how to play football, but to this day I have no idea like a touchdown, a line, any of that. I don't know any of that stuff. So I would go over to Tanya's, and they would be sitting around watching the football games, and I would, this massive snowplow has no lights on the front of its car. That's good. And I would go, touchdown! Just at like random times, and they would all laugh. They thought it was real funny. Because I didn't know about football. And then they would try to teach me, and I'd be like, there's no point in teaching me, I just don't understand it. I just don't think I have that gene in my like head that I'm supposed to understand football. Now like basketball, I totally understand. Baseball, I get it, you know? But like for some reason, I just don't understand football. And I know that there are people out there right now as I say this, and they're like, oh my God, I could totally teach you football. No, I'm telling you, you couldn't, okay? It's like, I will never understand football as long as I live. There's just no reason for me to even try. I've tried to read it. I think I even at one point got like a couple books out from the library, like Dummy's Guide to Football or something, and I still didn't understand it. Like first and down and all that kind of, I don't even know the words to use, okay, you guys? Like, I don't understand any of it, and I don't need to understand any of it. But I do love Sundays, I will say that. Sunday fun days. And then you know what follows Sundays? Just another Manic Monday. Just another... Did you guys listen to the Bangles back in the day? Oh my God, I loved this movie. My friends and I in high school, at least one or two people out there, I've talked about this on here before, but at least one or two people out there will know this movie. But there was this movie, I actually own it on VCR tape down in my basement, but there was this movie back in the day, and it was called The All-Nighter, and it was with Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles, Dee Dee Pfeiffer, who is Michelle Pfeiffer's sister, and then it had, oh shoot, what's her name? Oh God, why can't I think of her name? I love her so much. Shoot, why can't I think of her name? The chick that was in, she was in 16 Candles, and she's been in like, her brother's an actor too. He was in the Grifters. Why can't I think of her name? Joan Cusack. Oh my God, I love her so much. She's so hilarious. And so it's the three of them, and they like are seniors in college, and I think the college is called Pacifica College or something, and they have these two friends that I have talked about this on here before. I've talked, yeah, because my friends and I used to quote the lines in high school, and so they are like graduating, and they're making like, they have this big like family dinner, and their two friends are like these surfer guys, and we were obsessed with this movie in high school, like literally obsessed with it. I haven't watched it in forever. I should watch it again. And Susanna Hoffs is like in love with this guy, and she ends up like going to his hotel room, and then she gets arrested for prostitution. Do you guys remember that? If you've never seen this movie, you should look it up, The All-Nighter. It's so good. I mean, it's really like a D-list movie, but it's like so good. Like if you like D-list movies, I guess, which I do. Melissa is so excited because like one of Melissa's all-time favorite movies is Death of a Cheerleader with Tori Spelling and Kelly Martin, and they are making, or they just made a remake of it, and I think it's like the first week of February that it's on Lifetime, I think. And Kelly Martin, who plays the killer in the original movie, she's like in the remake, but she plays like the girl's mom or something. So Melissa got to meet Tori Spelling and like hang out with her, and she literally had her DVD copy of Death of a Cheerleader, and she was like, so like she like brought it out of her purse like when they like were hanging out, and she's like, I just want to tell you that I love this movie so much. So Melissa was like, I think we should watch the the old one and the new one that night. And Alex and Jason were both like, when she brought it up at dinner last night, they were like, oh my God, we have to watch both of them. She's like, you don't have to watch either of them. You guys can go do whatever you want to do. But Peter and I will watch both of them, and then we will compare them. It's almost like the identical script. Like when she sent me the trailer, it's like the same script. And so we're gonna watch at least the new one, and then we're thinking about doing a review of it on our review channel. Would you guys like that? Don't you think that would be so fun? I said on our review channel, on my review channel. Where is I got all my lip balms are right here. All my lip balms live in Texas. Do you guys know that song, All My Exes Live in Texas? My dad used to love that song when I was growing up. When I was growing up, my dad listened to my mom called it country western. I don't think we call it country western anymore, but like there's definitely a difference between country and country western. Like country western is like Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson, you know, all that. Like my dad loved country western. But don't you think there's a difference between country and country western? I love country music. I love country western music. What's so funny is that when I was growing up, I could not stand like Willie Nelson, and now Willie Nelson is one of my like all-time favorite artists of life. And but when I was growing up, God, my dad would play him. Oh, and Tom T. Hall. He would play Tom T. Hall till I thought, oh my God, it was just like enough of Tom T. Hall, you know? And it just would like for days. Sneaky Snake. Do you guys remember that song, Sneaky Snake? Oh, it's crazy. There are like snow trucks everywhere. The GC Seafood. I think I said something about that when I passed that the other day. That'll probably be a place that I will never go to. I'm not a big seafood. Well, I don't eat seafood at all. Although I will eat like, well, I don't now because I'm a vegetarian. But like back in the day, I would like eat like shrimp and like combo fried rice. I honestly can't believe I've been a vegetarian as long as I have, and I have no intention of not being a vegetarian. I feel like I just learned more and more about being a vegetarian, and so I didn't even realize I was at the end. So how long has that been now that I've been vlogging? 24. Like an hour and 12 minutes, something like that. Anyway, you know, this whole vegetarian like lifestyle and this whole vegetarian like journey that I've been on has been very interesting for me. You know, like when I first started it, it was really just to see if I could do it for 30 days. And I have been a vegetarian at different points in my life, right? And let me make this clear. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. But like, I really didn't think at that time that I could probably do it. Like, I was like, I don't know, like, how long I'm gonna be able to do this for, right? And I really, like, in my head, I had it, like, made out that it was going to be so much harder than it really was. And the times before that I was a vegetarian, in Indianapolis especially, like, Indianapolis was a really hard place to be a vegetarian because, like, when you would go out to dinner, like, it was all these chain restaurants, and, like, basically the best that you could do was, like, a dinner salad, you know what I mean? Or you would have to, like, get something and have, like, this replaced with this and this replaced with this, which you still have to be kind of conscious of that kind of stuff, right? And, you know, but I think, like, I got so much criticism over time, like, with how I was doing something or how I wasn't doing anything, you know, and I think, like, a turning point for me was literally a couple months ago when my friend said to me, you know, like, who's been a vegetarian for a long time, and she said, you know, have you, like, do you eat at restaurants? And I said, yeah, like, all the time. And she was like, do you not think, like, there's been, like, what was the word she used? Cross-polluted or whatever. Basically meaning that, like, at some point that I've been at a restaurant, there has been meat products that have been cooked on the same, like, grill of what I was getting that was vegetarian, right? And so, like, cross-affected or whatever, I can't remember the word what she talked about. And I thought about it that way, and she's like, you know what? She's like, you just need to do the best job that you can possibly do. She's like, you know, you're doing it, you're trying to educate yourself, you're trying to learn. She's like, nobody's perfect. She's like, I'm not perfect. I do the best that I can, right? You know, and that was really eye-opening for me. Also to remind myself that I'm doing it, you know, to, like, be a better version of myself, and yes, to eat healthier, but also to, like, you know, for my belief systems and things like that. But what's been interesting is that over time, like now it's just not even anything that I even think about, you know? 1 month turned into 2, turned into 6, turned in, you know, and now it's been, well, it was a year ago, it was a year in August, so, you know, it was August, September, October, November, December, January. It's been, you know, almost 6 months, a year and 6 months. I don't really ever consciously think about it, you know, ever. Like, I can't remember the last time. I mean, I do think, like, you know, it would be fun to have, like, a cheeseburger every once in a while. I'm, like, going through somewhere fast food, but, like, not conscious. Like, I don't really, like, consciously is the wrong word. Like, I don't really, like, in my heart of hearts think, like, I'm gonna have a cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like, and it's more the idea of it than the actually craving of having any kind of, like, meat. Like, I haven't craved meat in a really long time. It's interesting, you know? And, I think the other thing is that, like, Alex is super, super supportive of it. My friends are super supportive of it. You know, even just, like, going over to Melissa and Jason's tomorrow night, you know, and, like, her saying that she's making chili, you know, chicken, and, like, what can I make for you? And, you know, she's like, I can make a grilled cheese and whatever, and, you know, I can make a gourmet grilled cheese with, like, you know, vegetarian cheese and whatever. You know, it's just, it's stuff like that. Like, my friends have been so supportive of me. My family has been so supportive of me. There's only been a few times, like, I've gone places, like, there just isn't really anything for me to eat. And, but other than that, like, I don't, and now the thing is that there are so many people out there that are vegetarian that it's like anywhere that you go, huge pile of snow right there in the middle of the intersection. Anywhere that you go, whether it's a chain restaurant or not, like, have lots of vegetarian options. You know what I mean? Lots of them. So it's not difficult anymore to be a vegetarian when you go somewhere. It just isn't. I would say, though, like, if I was going to give anybody advice, like, on being a vegetarian, I would tell you to go into it being open-minded, to being educated, but at the same time, allow yourself to not beat yourself up. You're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn as you go. There are going to be things that you have absolutely no idea have meat byproducts in it that you're going to learn, that somebody will tell you, somebody will educate you. Don't get shitty about it. Just be like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, like, and then now you do, you know, it's like when you know better, you do better kind of thing. Because you're going to learn. It's not like you know everything when you start. I think if you have a friend or a family member that's become a vegetarian, you know, be encouraging of them. Don't be hard on them. You know, be like, hey, like, I'm really, you know, like, proud of you for trying to make this choice and whatever, you know, like, even if you don't necessarily believe in it, you know, it's like, okay, it's their choice. Be encouraging of them, you know, try to help them out in situations when they're, like, you know, and the few times that I've been like, screw it, like, the Dominican Republic was really hard because, like, there were really, like, very few vegetarian options there. And I remember that day that, like, we got there and I sat down and I was like, there was nothing, you know, to eat. And I was so hungry. And Alex was, I was like, fuck it, I'm blah, 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 whatever. And he was like, he was like, this is too important to you. You know what I mean? Like, that was really, like, good for me that he was, like, that supportive of me. And I don't think that I would have just said fuck it anyway, you know, like, but I was really conflicted. And, you know, he was so supportive, and he was, like, the one that was talking to the waiter and trying to, like, figure out, like, what I could have, you know, and stuff like that. And, it just, you know, I think, and I think that that's with anything, you know, it's like, let's be supportive of each other, you know? You know, it's interesting, like in a lot of my conversations that I've had with people recently, I feel like people are saying to me, like on a regular basis, like going into 2019, or what I want from 2019, or what I want from my year ahead, or what I want from my life ahead is this or is that, right? You know, I feel like that's a common conversation that I'm having with people. Like, people are really thinking about what they want their life to look like now, you know? And it's interesting. And for me, like every time a conversation comes up, I feel like it really makes me think to myself, like, what do I want my life to look like right now? You know, like, what do I want the year ahead of me to look like? I talked about this a little bit last night, you know, with wanting to travel, with wanting to try new things, with wanting to have this life that I, you know, spend with my family and whatever. And, you know, I've kind of gotten back to this point where, like, I'm having, like, so much fun with YouTube again, if that makes sense. Like, this is the second ambulance that's gone by, not the second police car, but the second ambulance. You know, like, YouTube is like, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it lost some of its fun for a while, you know? And I'm kind of trying to really look at it in a different way and kind of figure out some things I want. I mean, like, oh, the battery just came on. Like, I'm really enjoying, like, the Peterisms channel and the review channel. I just, like, starting the review channel kind of, like, reignited this fire in me for what I like to do and, you know, do on all of my channels, you know? And I'm having so much fun with all of them. And the vlog channel has just kept me going because I just won't go a day without posting on here. So even if, like, I don't on the other channels, I'm like, well, I'm going to do my vlog, you know? And I think that one of the things I've learned in the last couple months is truly how important peace and serenity are to me on a daily basis. More important to me than anything else, you know? And my relationships and spending time with my family and my loved ones, you know, my friends, like, all of that, and my dogs, you know, are just, those are the things that are the most important, you know? And I think that a lot of you really relate to that out there. It's like, okay, me sitting at home with my dog, you know, watching a movie, or watching Peter on his vlog, or, you know, hanging out with my family and making a dinner, or being just by myself and taking a bath, or whatever. Like, all of that is so much more important than the rest of this crap that we get so involved in that it just doesn't matter on some level. You know, it just doesn't matter. And so I think for me, 2019, I want to be this, like, year of getting back to, like, who I am and what I really enjoy, and how can I be the best version of myself, and, like, how to, like, put that out there in the world. You know, like RuPaul said in the interview with Oprah, thinks his purpose is to enjoy life to the best of his ability and be able to show other people that that's possible. And that's what I want to do, you know, to show, you know, by my own example of my own life, of, like, what an amazing life, you know, that I have been blessed to be given, you know, and just to really encompass that. And I think, like, I just feel so blessed on a daily basis for just having the people in my life, you know, from my close friends and family to you guys watching my videos to, you know, just it's just all of it. I just feel so blessed by all of it. And I think my main goal for 2019 is to not forget that for a moment, and to stay in gratitude always. So, okay, this is gonna end. You guys, this has been fun tonight. I had a really fun time talking. So, I mean, I always do, but tonight it just kind of, like, streamed. It was like here to there to here to there to here to there. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday. If you got snow in your area, I hope that you are safe. I hope you are staying warm. If you're somewhere that it's like 75 degrees and you've commented on my vlog that it's 75 degrees or 80, hey, I'm so glad that you're by the beach today. I'm not. So anyway, I love you guys, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your day before you have to go back to work or whatever. And I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.